What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Art of Suffering podcast. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, I apologize for the wreck in the background. Like I said in several episodes, y'all just going to have to bear with me because we're just trying to crack out a little bit of time in the day to get this stuff done. And so the house is a little messy and it's going to be okay. So we're back on Forever Loved by Dr. Mike Darnell. We're on chapter 4, which is how God looks at forgiveness. So we're going to dive right into this episode this morning. I got about, 20 minutes or so before everybody starts getting up for school. So, let's jump right in. Okay. Starting out with Psalm 32, 1 through 5. Blessed is he whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man whose sin the Lord does not count against him, and in whose spirit is no deceit. When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was sapped as the heat of summer. When I acknowledged my sin to you and did not cover up my iniquity, I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the guilt of my sin. Psalms 32, 1 through 5. And here's the little letter from God to us. Let's see. My child, are you angry with me? Perhaps you don't understand me and feel that I have deprived you of your most prized possession. Don't worry. I know that you get angry with those you really love. Even if you don't understand me, I understand you. If you feel I have offended you, I hope you will forgive me. If you have offended yourself and feel guilty, forgive yourself also. Forgiveness will separate you from those you love, leaving you alone. Unforgiveness will separate you from those you love, leaving you alone. I do not want that for you and me. You are much too valuable to me, your Father. All right, first little section here. It says, Lord, I feel so guilty. In seasons of loss and separation, feelings of guilt, anger, fear, and loneliness can be strong, dominating, and at times debilitating. Condemnation and anger are most prevalent where there is unfinished business or relationships that still have unresolved memories, conflict, and guilt. The mind continually broods over events and conversations, most of which are negative. Why did I say that? If I had only. And on the tape plays. If your mind is thinking negative and condemning thoughts, Alcoholics Anonymous call this stinking thinking. How do you think you are going to feel? Happy? Wrong? No. I read that wrong, sorry. How do you think you're going to feel? Happy? Wrong. Remember, feelings follow thinking. Someone once said, you are not what you think you are, but what you... Someone once said, you are not what you think you are, but what you think you are. And I'd be talking in parables, bruh. I'd be struggling with these things sometimes. You are not what you think you are, but what you think you are. That makes sense. Like some stuff I just have to read over and over again, and I apologize. So y'all bear with me. But there's two types of guilt. There are two types of guilt, true and false. True guilt is a blessing from God. Its agent is the precious Holy Spirit. His job is to convict of sin. God knows better than anyone how we created beings function best. In the glove compartment of your car is a manual called the Manufacturer's Handbook. This manual gives specific maintenance instructions to follow if the car is to operate and serve you at peak performance. The Word of God is your manufacturer's handbook, written by our manufacturer. When we violate the handbook concerning relationships, the Holy Spirit, like a referee, blows the whistle. We stop, look, and usually ask, who, me? Conviction is felt. We raise our hand, much like a foul in a basketball game, and acknowledge our violation. We then proceed without condemnation, enjoying and participating in the rest of the game. Conviction is a gift from a loving Father and is in our best interests. False guilt, on the other hand, is different. Agreed. It breeds only condemnation, feelings of worthlessness, and low self-esteem. Can you picture Satan telling you that an effective spouse or parent you have been, or reminded you of all the sacrifices? Can you picture Satan telling you what an effective spouse or parent you have been, or reminding you of all the sacrifices you have made and the words of encouragement you have given? False. Pseudo or imaginary guilt sometimes can be cultural, stemming from critical, demanding, and perfectionistic parents. Firstborn children who are exposed to excessive early childhood parental expectations are prone to false guilt and self-condemnation. Wherever false guilt comes from, it is self-defeating and counterproductive, only adding more stress to your already difficult circumstances. True guilt needs to be confessed. False guilt must be exposed for what it is, a lie. Okay, I know I butchered like part of that, but I hope that shot through the camera or through the microphone for just a second. So, true guilt needs to be confessed. False guilt needs to be exposed. That's pretty good stuff, Granddad. Our need to forgive. I left Texas in 1983 after being an associate pastor for 15 years. I felt wounded, angry, and hurt by fellow Christians. Nursing my resentment, seeds of bitterness took root. I had to have someone to blame besides myself. I was not aware that God had plans to use this rejection to reveal his acceptance for me. The root of bitterness grew, building my spiritual insight, affecting Sue and our 3 children. I discovered if you put a small dime next to your eye, the dime will hide the sun. And this is just what the bitterness was doing to me. Look closely at a question Peter posed to Christ. Then Peter came up to him and said, Lord, how many times may my brother sin against me, and I forgive him and let it go? As many as up to 7 times? Jesus answered him, I tell you, not up to 7 times, but 70 times 7. Matthew 18:21 and 22. Peter could not picture himself offending his brother, but he could picture the brothers offending him. 7 times is generous. That will impress the master, Peter possibly thought. The answer has baffled generations. 490 times. I've been married 50 years, and the need to forgive and be forgiven exceeded 490 times years ago. Forgiveness must be a way of life, especially in a covenant relationship. That question by Peter drew out of Christ one of his most powerful, insightful parables concerning forgiveness. It is recorded in Matthew 18:23 through 25. We're going to read that now, so bear with me. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a human king who wished to settle accounts in his tenants. When he began accounting, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents, probably $10 million. And because he could not pay, his master ordered him to be sold, and his wife and children and everything that he possessed, and payment to be made. But the tenant fell on his knees, begging him, Have patience with me, and I will pay you everything. And his master's heart was moved with compassion, and he released him and forgave him, canceling the debt. But that same tenant, as he went out, found one of his fellow tenants who owed him 100 denarii, about $20. And he caught him by the throat and said, Pay what you owe. So his fellow tenant fell and begged him earnestly, Give me time, I will pay you all. But he was unwilling and went out and had him put in prison till he could pay the debt. When his fellow tenants saw what happened, they were greatly distressed, And they went and told everything that had taken place to their master. Then his master called him and said to him, "You contemptible and wicked tenant, I forgave and canceled all that great debt of yours because you begged me. And should you not have had pity and mercy on your fellow tenant as I had pity and mercy on you?" And in wrath, his master turned him over to the torturers, the jailers, till he could pay back all that he owed. So also, my heavenly Father will deal with every one of you if you do not freely forgive your brother from your heart his offenses. This parable demonstrates four important aspects of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a gift. We do not deserve it. It cancels out a debt owed. Forgiven to God, we need to pass the forgiveness on to our fellow man. Unforgiveness results in personal torture and inner torment. We must choose to forgive, for the body and the human psyche cannot properly function when harboring worry, fear, anxiety, bitterness, and unforgiveness. David Sheeman says that when we do not forgive, we are handed over to the tormentors to be tormented. I can definitely attest to that. A practical exercise in forgiveness. Forgiveness is a decision. Forgiveness is a decision, a choice based on an act of the will. Forgiveness is not a feeling. At 23 years of age, I stood before a preacher unmarried. He asked, "Do you take this woman to be your wife?" I said, "I do." Within 15 minutes, I was a married man. Now I didn't feel married at all, but I had made a choice, a decision that changed the course of history for me. Forgiveness is a choice to release those debts owed to you. The following exercise has assisted hundreds of people to release their bitterness, hurts, and anger. This exercise is not original with me, although I have seen it fleshed out in the counseling office hundreds of times. I first learned of the forgiveness exercise from Grace Fellowship Atlanta, where I did a 2-month counseling internship. It is a powerful, practical way to forgive. Let me lead you through the exercise. First, get a pencil and paper and draw 3 columns. At the top of the first column, write person. On the second column, event. On the third column, write emotion. Secondly, starting with the early childhood, ask God to show you any person who has hurt you, offended you, or sinned against you in any way. Write down the names of these people from early childhood through elementary school, junior high, high school, and on up to the present. Then write the event, what the person did to hurt you. Lastly, write the emotion. It is important to get in touch with how that event made you feel. The purpose of this exercise is to have before you the people, events, and emotions that accompany those offenses. Some individuals may have only several main hurts in their lives, while others have several pages of offenses. You might, as I did, need to put God on your list. I know now that God did not leave me alone, but I felt He did, and I needed to forgive. You might need to put your own name down on the list. Often the most difficult person to forgive is yourself. Take your list now to a place of privacy where you can be totally alone. Place an empty chair in front of you and picture each person on your list sitting in the empty chair. One by one, tell the person aloud what they did to hurt you and how that made you feel. Tell each person that you choose as an act of your will to release and forgive the debt they owe you. Here are some examples. Dad, I choose right now as an act of my will to forgive you for not waking me up the morning you promised to take me hunting. I was 8 years old and had a new gun. I had laid my clothes out the night before. A hunting buddy of yours called that evening, and you changed your mind about taking me. You went with him instead. When I woke up and found you gone, I cried most of the morning. That's the event. It made me feel sad and unimportant. That's the emotion. Bill, I choose to forgive you for making me feel I had to perform for you in the church in order to find favor with you. Event. I felt rejection and at times guilt. That's the emotion. But I choose to forgive you. Mike, myself, I choose to forgive you for not allowing Sue to express her true feelings while in the church in Texas event. It made me feel a false sense of control, emotion. And God, I choose to forgive you for not answering my prayer. I felt like you did not care. I felt betrayed. As you, by faith, walk through this exercise, you might shed a lot of tears. You might not feel any emotion at all. This is all right. We are merely obeying God so that we can be healed of guilt and condemnation. Forgiving is for you, not necessarily for the other person. I wish forgiveness always meant reconciliation, but it does not. The people you forgive may never know what they did or how they made you feel. Some perhaps have already died. After you have gone through your list, releasing the debts as an act of faith, tear up your list and throw it away. God will honor your faith. He has promised. Those who are not willing to release the debts have never seen just how much they themselves have been forgiven. There are 3 ways to treat a debt. 1 is compound the debt, 2, collect the debt, or 3, cancel the debt out by forgiving. Which did Christ do for you? He canceled it out by forgiving you, didn't he? My favorite verse on forgiveness is Colossians 2:14. It says, having canceled and blotted out and wiped away the handwriting of the note bond with its legal decrees and demands, which was in force and stood against us, hostile to us. This note with its regulations, decrees, and demands, he set aside and cleared completely out of our way by nailing it to the cross. Honestly, guys, I've kind of gone through this already. And I can say from personal experience, the healing is, and it's not for the other person, like he said, it's for you. I made it a point in my life many years ago to live guilt-free. Like I have an internal nature to feel guilty, like to bash on myself. And sometimes, like it said in the deal, that conviction is good, but mine was not all of it. Some of it was good, but not all of it. And so over the years, I've just turned loose all that. And then I've started conducting myself in a way that I feel like is what God asked me to do. And I find myself loving myself way more when I am following him, when I am following the way he says to treat people, when I'm following the way he says to conduct myself, when I'm following the way he tells me to be a husband or a father. And so I have experienced this firsthand. Hey, baby. I have experienced this firsthand. And it's a powerful thing. That story in Matthew, that's interesting. I'll have to go reread that because I've read that recently, like on my own, and I got something totally different out of that. I guess it is about forgiveness, but I was reading it from a different light. Anyways, guys, we got big things coming up this week. We got our big trip to Montana for our second clinic in the Rope America series. So if you haven't seen that on YouTube, go watch that first video in Texas. It's pretty cool. This one's going to be totally different. This one's going to be pretty neat. So I got the beginner, the intermediate, and advanced guide to ranch roping trickling out over the next there's probably 20 more videos to come out, but it's just, if you're wanting to get into roping, it is a guide to the basics, right? This is the ABCs of roping. Starts in the beginner all the way from pulling your rope up all the way to throwing the fanciest stuff you see me throw. But it's cool, man. I feel like I feel like God is asking me to step out into the world and do these clinics. I feel like He is asking me to make those videos and to proclaim His glory. And so that's what we're going to do. I really don't like traveling that much, and I don't want to. I have little kids, as you guys know, and so it's just very difficult for Kara when I have to go. But it's like if you watch The Chosen, that scene in The Chosen when Jesus is talking to Peter's wife, and Jesus tells her, I think her name's Ema, but Jesus tells her, I see you. And he tells her, you saw what I see in Peter first. And so that's what I'm having faith in. That's what I'm going to rest in, is knowing that Christ sees Kara's sacrifice and that He loves her. And He's not taking me away from the kids and the family for these couple of day stints to harm us, but it's to further His kingdom, and it's to proclaim His glory. And that is more important than my family sometimes, and that is more important than anything sometimes. So I don't really want to do it, but I find myself, the further along I go in this walk, I find myself doing a lot of things I do not want to do. It's like almost everything God asked me to do, I don't want to do it. And so learning how to do that with a happy heart, learning how to suffer well is what the name of the game is. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to push and enjoy Him, and be thankful for a supportive wife, and be thankful for sons that get to watch their dad work. And we're just going to go really, really hard at it. So if you haven't seen any of that stuff, check it out on YouTube. If you're needing some help, you can always email me at dalton@310edu. I'd love to visit with you. Share the podcast, guys. Send it to people that need help, the people in your life that are hurting. Share it with them. The book's really cool. Yeah. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.